So coming to Dynamics 365 advanced modules, we have warehouse management and transportation management. This is not a core module of Dynamics 365. I mean, Microsoft didn't develop this; they acquired these modules from Blue Shoe. Okay, so Blue Shoe at the warehouse and transportation module, they just acquired and added as part of the core Dynamics 365 supply chain modules. And then we will be discussing on the landed cost, which was again it was an ISV. I think it is from DXC. Microsoft had acquired that, and then they added on top of this module. I mean, Dynamics 365 supply chain management. So to explain about warehouse management, where it can be used and what is the functionality of that. So, like there will be different industries where they'll be managing minimum number of inventory to maximum level of inventories. Let me take an example of Mercedes-Benz. So, Mercedes-Benz has multiple companies, like they manufacture car, they manufacture spares, and they do services. They do all, like they're into service, manufacturing, retail, distribution, everything. Okay, so assume that like they just imagine how big the warehouse will be looking, and to manage the inventory in such a big warehouse, it will be complicated. So that's where we will be using warehouse management to simplify the process of picking, storing the item, so that the system gives an information like from where an item can be picked, where an item can be stored, and how the counting look like for an effective way of keeping the operation. If it's a big warehouse, like a worker who may not be aware, like where the item has to be picked. Let's say if an item is dealing with an expiry date, he doesn't know until like somewhere it has been written that the item in this location that gonna be expired in so and so days, and only that he needs to pick. And imagine how hard it will be when you are maintaining something in an Excel sheet or a paper, right? So it will be really hard to know. So having WMS in place will help the operations team to do better. Like the system let you know from where the item has to be picked, from which location it has to be picked. It's for the picking process. Again, for placing something, I mean, once you received, you'll be placed, right? So how optimizely you can utilize the storage within a warehouse. So all this can be fulfilled by using a warehouse application. So it's not only Dynamics 365. So if you take any warehouse application, this is what it gonna fulfill. Right? So like you guys have a basic idea like what is warehouse management now, and we will be having a handle device. Like handle, maybe you guys have seen a handle device earlier. If not, like it'll be just having a barcode reader and a display, and some will have a label printer. So that's how a handle device looks like. Within the it's sometimes like the handle device can be a Windows one, or it can be a Android one. So it will be running under Android OS. So for Dynamics 365, we have an warehouse management tab where we configure in the handle device, and the picking and the put process will be carried out in the handle device. Like all your questions will be answered over here at the basic level. Like later we'll go into the setup and scenarios and some demos. Like yeah, that's how I planned. If you guys wanted to have in some other way, the suggestions are accepted. We'll see how best we can do.
Hi, Ashok. I have one doubt here.
Yeah.
See, as a consultant, we'll join multiple companies all of a sudden. That means business is running behind like
Hmm.
that. So soon after entering into the that particular project, how to
Hmm.
understand whether they are using advanced warehouse or normal warehouse? Is there any difference to find out? How?
Yeah, there is a difference. So see, the first thing is when you're getting into a project, like while getting a KT itself, when they say a sales process, For sure, that will be the first question. What sales or purchase process? That should be the first question, whether they are into advanced warehouse or the standard warehouse. And if you wanted to see in the system, maybe if you go to the warehouse management, I mean warehouse master over here, if you see this radio button deals with advanced warehouse management.
Sorry,
Okay,
I couldn't see that. Could you please
are you
highlight
seeing?
that?
uh, See the
Yeah.
one use warehouse management process. Okay,
Okay, it will
so
be in the parameters. Okay.
right, this will be enabled again. See, it doesn't mean that if a warehouse is advanced warehouse, all the items within the warehouse like should be processed using a WMS app. Okay, there will be a small item which doesn't require to go into this big process of picking, packing, all those, right? And
So you mean
like
to say that you have the option of bifurcating that.
right. So to say particular like from here you define that this warehouse will be an advanced warehouse by default. But there could be multiple
Okay.
items within the same warehouse where it wanted to go through an advanced warehouse process and some items a standard process like what we do in the purchase order, product receipt. Okay, let's take
Okay.
a different example. Uh, okay, in a warehouse, you'll be getting some consumable items, right? Like a paper or pens or something like that, or a printer or something. So printer, it's not part of the stock; it's an asset. And papers, pens, and the other office utilities comes under the expense item. In case if you wanted to maintain that as an inventory, right? Every time you
Yeah.
can't receive using advanced warehouse. You don't need a worker in a warehouse to do all those. It can be done by uh, a guy who just receives. He doesn't want to know about the warehouse management stuffs and all. The receiving part, all those doesn't work. And what you can do is at the item level, we have another setup on the storage dimension. Uh,
So while
see,
defining the warehouse, that radio button needs to be disabled, right?
no, see again, if the warehouse, like if the business doesn't wanted to use warehouse management, then you can disable. But if the
Yeah.
warehouse wanted to use warehouse management, then for sure you need to enable that. And only for certain items, it is not required to go through the process of warehouse management. Then what you
Okay.
can do is you can create another storage dimension and tag that item to a
To
storage
that
dimension
particular
where
domain.
right. So the item that falls under warehouse management, for sure, it has to go through the warehouse management process only. Okay, again, I'll say next thing that there is a cache. And the items
Okay.
which doesn't want warehouse management, you can just define this and you can do a routine way of doing that. Because the
Okay.
moment you enable warehouse management, you see
Yes.
all these will be enabled.
Yes. Yes.
Like you
Yes.
need to have site, warehouse, location, inventory status, license plate, which I'll explain later. But all these
Okay.
should be enabled. Whereas for the items like which I explained doesn't need all this. It never kept in a license plate. It will be somewhere in a location at least.
Yeah.
Once we have received, immediately we expenses out. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the reason
So,
we have an option at warehouse level as well as storage dimension. So only when an item and a warehouse both as warehouse management, then only it will go through the process of warehouse management.
okay. So, to be a gist of it, I mean to ask you, like for a project, they do have multiple storage dimensions based on the requirement. They will tag that particular storage dimensions to that particular item. If they need advanced warehouse, they will tag to advanced warehouse
Right,
storage dimension enabled one. If not, the other one. Okay.
right, right. Okay. Now the next thing is the
So,
basic thing is yeah. Sorry, right.
so what are the this topics going to be covered in this course, and what are the
So
requirements
yeah.
of this?
Okay, we will be covering the modules. Okay, like advanced warehouse management. Within warehouse management, we'll be discussing on how we will be received. Like first the setup. Other than the setup, if I go to the scenarios, like how we will be receiving an item, what are the different way of receiving an item in a warehouse, and how you manage your inventory within a warehouse, like counting, adjustment process, and transfer using advanced warehouse, and then the shipping process and the label creation, like for the shipping or the inward also, we generate a label and we stick on the item or the license plate. So all these processes we'll be discussing in the session. So this is for the warehouse management, and we'll be seeing how we will be configuring a mobile device app. Okay, there are some setups where we need to define a menu, and there are some options around that, and I'll explain how the options works and where it will be used. That will be there. And coming to transportation management, it's mostly like managing the inventory from your supplier to your place, or like how you manage the inventory on the transit from your location to the customer. Only it will be on this level, not more than that. And how the posters will be added and how you will arrive at the transportation charge using the transportation module, that will be discussing. And then the landed cost. So landed cost and transportation management will sound similar, but the transportation model, we what we have, it's only for the local, right? I mean the local transportation of goods, not import. Whereas landed cost, it's mostly for the import process where you wanted to add the like freight charges, custom charges to the item cost. So landed cost model will be dealing about that. So these are the three models which we will be looking. So warehouse management, advanced warehouse management of all the warehouse operations, and transportation management to see how we manage the inbound and the outbound operation for transportation, and then landed cost model. Always like I never prefer to say that this is the time and I'll complete by this. I'll go with the process. I'll explain if there are one or two sessions which I should add more, I can, or if something is less than that, rest of the time I can spend with you to answer your queries or to explain. So whatever planned, it's around 40 hours. And the demo
Transfer
session,
of
sorry, the training, sorry to interrupt. And the training session won't be like going through something like on the docs, just follow these steps. Like it will be mostly on the scenarios. I'll first explain the setup, show you the process, and like that's how I plan. So yeah, someone was asking a question. Sorry to interrupt.
actually this transfer orders and inventory management is available in the without advanced warehouse also. So what will be the difference between these two after we implement advanced warehouse?
See the way.
Physical location and transfer between warehouse to warehouse is also available, right?
Right. So, see, the standard warehouse, like the standard way of transfer orders, transfer adjustment, where you don't use a handle device and there is no configurations that are required. Whereas when you are dealing with advanced warehouse, you will be using the handle device. You just scan the item location, and based on that, the system identifies that and you key in a quantity, and then the movement of items or the adjustment will happen. So, the major difference here is the process. It's not like directly going and typing in the value in a transfer order or receiving date. Here it will be through handle device. You will be updating all the details in the handle device for the receiving part. Whereas shipping part, there is a process itself. It's like warehouse that deals with many shipments. Okay, how they do the shipping process, like what all the warehouse manager he does while processing the shipment, everything will be shown there. Like so, to say the other way, your inbound operation will cover the purchase order, like purchase receiving. Like the same way, transfer order receiving also will be there, and the shipment process will be similar to the sales process.
So when the clients are using manufacturing things, so this
Hmm.
advanced warehouse is not useful for them. I mean to say
No,
when they are consuming the products and all, so advanced warehouse is not at all advisable for that, right?
no, no. not like that. Like advanced warehouse support for the production module as
Okay.
yeah. Again, it
Okay. So
depends on the business, but
how it is.
okay. See, in the production process, there will be a process of picking. I mean, they consume the item and they get a RAF, right? The report as finished product. And once after receipt, they need to move to a
Yeah.
location, correct? And the raw materials from one location, they will be moving to
Yeah.
another location. Like uh, the factories, what I've seen, how it will look like, there will be a separate where place or a unit where the stocks will be kept, and just within the same premise, there will be another building for production. Whenever there is a need of stock, the stock will be moved from the storage location to the production unit, right? And now there is a movement of stock from
Yeah.
this location to another location. And using the warehouse management,
Okay.
you can transfer, you can consume that, you can uh, uh, mark a report as finished. And once it is report as finished, they never keep the stock in the production unit itself. They just move to some other location, like where only the finished goods will be kept, right? So for that, warehouse
Yeah.
management will be used. But as part of our session, we are not, we won't be touching the production module related warehouse management because I don't have much
Okay.
idea of the production process, so I don't go.
Okay. So my question is very simple. Like, so if the client doesn't want that, we can go for normal warehouse. Is that possible?
Yeah, sure. So there are different ways to do that. One is never enable the advanced warehouse management for anything. Like if you don't want it to, if the customer doesn't want it to use warehouse management itself, okay. But if the customer wants to use warehouse management for the inbound and outbound operations and they don't want it to use for production, still they can. How we do is we just create another warehouse for production, and whenever there is a need of stock, we move the stock from this warehouse to another warehouse.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And the another thing is, though you have enabled warehouse management at the warehouse level and the item level, still you can bypass that. You can go ahead and do the normal way of receiving and packing. That is
Oh,
also
so are you going to explain that as well in our sessions?
oh yeah, in the subsequent sessions I'll explain because that's a basic thing. Maybe if you guys attending any interview, that will be one of the key questions that will be asked. So I'll show that, and it's needed also because every time we can't rely on the warehouse uh, management app. Or let's say if there is an issue and the warehouse doesn't app that doesn't work, what is the alternate way? How we can send the shipments? We can't say that since app is not working, I can send a shipment. There should be some other way to send. We can go and manually do, but in the system itself, there is another option where we can do it. In a worst case, that will be used. Okay, I hear most of the questions in warehouse management. How about transportation management and landed cost?
No idea at all from that
Okay,
area. So
and okay, I'll just give an idea. Like warehouse management and transportation management are tightly integrated. Like there'll be similar forms what you will be seeing in warehouse management as well as transportation management. But it's not required that you need to use both. It can be optional. You can use one or the other modules. And when you are using landed cost for the purchase process, the same purchase orders can be used for transportation management because, say, in a way, transportation and landed cost module serves the same purpose. Like one of the purposes, receiving the materials from the supplier. The cost that incurs in the movement of stock from the supplier or a port to your premise, everything will be tracked in transportation management as well as landed cost. So again, there you need to take a call whether the business wanted to use landed cost module or transportation for the purchase element. For sales, you can't use landed cost because landed cost is just for the purchase and mostly it's for the cost. Okay, if nothing there, shall we close the session and we'll connect tomorrow same time?